There's a memory you carry that isn't from this life. You felt it in moments you can't explain. When you meet someone and your soul screams, "I know you," before your mind catches up. When you visit a place you've never been, but somehow remember. When you wake from a dream more real than reality itself, and for 3 seconds before your ego reconstructs its walls, you remember. You remember the agreement. 63 years ago, Dr. Ian Stevenson began documenting children who remembered their previous lives. Not vague feelings, specific, verifiable details. Names of people who died before the child was born. Locations they'd never visited. Events they couldn't possibly know. One child in Sri Lanka drew a map of a village 160 miles away, marked an X on a house, and said, "That's where I died." They found the house. A man had been shot there. Everything the child described, verified. Another in Lebanon spoke a dialect from a region they'd never been to, remembered a family by name, had a birthmark in the exact location where that person had been stabbed. Over 2,500 cases, documented, investigated, unexplained by any materialist framework. The psychiatric establishment couldn't handle it, so they ignored it. Because if consciousness exists before birth, if memory transcends the brain, if you are more than this body, everything changes. Your greatest love, scheduled, your deepest trauma, requested, your impossible challenge, self-assigned, and the moment you truly understand why, not intellectually, but in your bones, nothing will ever be the same again. What I'm about to share isn't belief, it's not religion, it's not wishful thinking. It's the operating system of reality that mystics have been describing for 5,000 years in different languages, and quantum physics is now accidentally confirming. You ready? Because we're about to remember something your soul has always known. Let's begin. Close your eyes. I'm serious. Actually close them for 10 seconds. I'll still be here, now. Imagine falling upward. Not into darkness, but into light so bright it doesn't hurt. Light that's conscious. That knows you. That is you. This is the place between lives, the bardo, the interlife, the dimension your soul inhabits when it's not squeezed into the meat suit you're wearing right now. Here's what you need to understand. That place is more real than this one. The physical world, this thing you're experiencing right now, is dense, slow, limited. It's like trying to have a conversation underwater with mittens on. Possible, but inefficient. The realm your soul actually inhabits, pure consciousness, instantaneous communication, no separation, no time, just infinite now, infinite creation, infinite understanding. Dr. Michael Newton spent 35 years conducting thousands of hypnotic regressions, taking people into the space between their lives. Different people, different cultures, different religions, zero connection to each other, and they all described the same thing. A realm of light, a council of wise beings, a process of life review and planning, soul groups that incarnate together repeatedly, the choosing of the next life. Same architecture, same mechanics, same testimony from people who'd never heard of each other. Either they're all making up the exact same elaborate story, or they're remembering. So here's the billion-dollar question. If that realm is pure bliss, perfect love, total understanding, why would any soul voluntarily leave? Why would you leave heaven to incarnate into a world of pain, limitation, forgetting, and struggle? The answer is going to sound paradoxical, because you can't grow in paradise. Think about the last time you truly evolved as a person. Was it during your easiest, most comfortable period? Or was it when life brought you to your knees and you had no choice but to rebuild yourself from scratch? Comfort maintains, crisis transforms. In the realm of pure consciousness, your soul knows love. It knows compassion. It knows courage, forgiveness, wisdom. But knowing and embodying are different universes. It's like the difference between reading about swimming and diving into the ocean. One is information, the other is initiation. The physical world is Earth School, and you enrolled voluntarily because your soul looked at the curriculum and said, "That's exactly what I need." The Hermetic texts call this the Great Work, the process of turning lead into gold. But they're not talking about metal. They're talking about consciousness, your consciousness. Every lifetime is an experiment in alchemy. Can you take the raw material of human limitation and transmute it into divine realization? Can you experience separation so deeply that you remember unity? Can you feel hate so intensely that you choose love anyway? That's the game. That's the point. That's why you're here. Before you incarnated, you stood before what Dr. Michael Newton's subjects consistently call the Council of Elders. Not judges, not enforcers, advisors, beings of such profound wisdom and compassion that just being in their presence expands your consciousness. These aren't random entities. They're souls who've completed their own cycles of reincarnation. They've mastered the lessons Earth offers. They've achieved what every soul is working toward, liberation from the wheel. And now they serve as architects, guides, and illuminators for souls still in school. Picture this. You're standing before them. Though standing is the wrong word because you have no body. Your consciousness taking shape. Pure awareness wrapped in light. Before you, timelines unfold, not on a screen, in full dimensional reality. You're not watching potential lives. You're stepping into them, feeling them, experiencing the energetic signature of each possibility. You see yourself as a child in different bodies, different families, different time periods, different planets of possibility. And here's what's extraordinary. The Council doesn't tell you which to choose. They illuminate. They ask questions. What is your soul seeking to master in this next cycle? Which lessons remain incomplete from previous incarnations? Are you ready for advanced curriculum? Or do you need to revisit foundational work? This isn't authoritarian. It's collaborative. Because the one absolute law of the cosmos is free will. Your soul has sovereignty, always. Even God, Source, Universe, whatever you want to call it, cannot override your choice. So you choose. And then the real work begins, architecting the life. Your soul doesn't just randomly pick a body and hope for the best. It's strategic, intentional, precise. You select genetics that will support your mission. You choose a family dynamic that will create the exact emotional conditions you need to learn specific lessons. You identify souls from your soul group who'll play crucial roles. Some supportive, some challenging, all purposeful. You map out what Newton's subjects call marker events, destiny points where significant shifts are designed to occur. The meeting that changes everything. The loss that breaks you open. The opportunity that appears at the perfect moment. But here's the twist. You don't script every detail. You can't, because that would eliminate free will. And without free will, there's no authentic growth. So you create a framework, a structure, a set of possibilities. Think of it like jazz improvisation. You've chosen the key, the tempo, the basic melody. But how you play it, that's determined by your choices in the moment. This is the soul's contract, written by you, for you, before you ever took your first breath. And then comes the hardest part. You have to forget all of it. Your body is not you, but it is your instrument, and your soul chose it with the precision of a master musician selecting their guitar. Will it be male or female, tall or short, sturdy or fragile, beautiful by cultural standards or plain, healthy or carrying genetic predispositions toward illness? Now, your ego recoils. I would never choose a body with limitations. I'd choose perfection. But your soul has different priorities. Beauty is a specific curriculum. It opens doors while closing others. It teaches you who sees essence versus appearance. It shows you the emptiness of validation based on genetics, souls learning humility, self-worth, or discernment often choose extraordinary physical attractiveness. Physical limitation is advanced study. When you can't rely on bodily strength, you discover the power that exists beyond the physical. Souls learning inner resilience, compassion, or transcendence often choose bodies with chronic illness or disability. High sensitivity creates introverts who spend more time in internal exploration. That's not an accident. It's designed for souls focusing on intellectual or spiritual development. Even your face carries information. Dr. Brian Weiss, another psychiatrist who accidentally stumbled into past life research, documented cases where birthmarks appear in the exact location of fatal wounds from previous lives. One patient had a birthmark on his throat. Under hypnosis, he remembered being killed by a throat injury in a past life. Another had birthmarks matching bullet entry and exit wounds. The memory? Execution by firing squad. The body remembers, even when the mind forgets. Your physical form, every aspect you've loved or hated about it, is part of the soul's strategic design. Okay, deep breath, because this is where it gets uncomfortable. You chose your family, every member, every dynamic, every wound. I can hear the resistance already. Are you seriously telling me I chose abusive parents, that I selected neglect, that I volunteered for trauma? Listen carefully. Choosing your family does not mean abuse is okay. It doesn't justify anyone's harmful behavior. Abusers are still 100% responsible for their choices. But it does mean your soul recognized that this family would create the exact conditions necessary for your curriculum. Here's an example that might make this less horrifying. A soul that's been controlling, domineering, or tyrannical in multiple past lives might choose to be born to a controlling parent in this life, not as punishment, as education, to understand from the receiving end what that energy creates, to develop empathy, to recognize the pattern so the soul can finally transcend it. This is karmic balancing, not retribution, rebalancing. A soul learning self-worth might choose emotionally unavailable parents. Why? Because when external validation is absent, you're forced to find the internal validation that can never be taken away. That's not cruel design, that's genius training. A soul preparing for leadership might choose a chaotic family that forces them to become the adult while still a child. These are the kids who seem too mature for their age. They're not damaged, they're in accelerated development. Now here's where it gets wild: soul contracts. Before incarnation, souls make agreements about the roles they'll play in each other's lives. Your mother agreed to be your mother. She chose you as much as you chose her. Same with your father, your siblings, even your spouse. But, critical distinction, agreeing to the role doesn't mean agreeing to how it's performed. A soul might agree to be your parent to teach you resilience, but they have free will in how they fulfill that contract. They could do it through healthy challenge and support, or they could do it through abuse and neglect. The underlying agreement remains, but the execution is determined by their level of consciousness. And sometimes, this is the hardest truth, the most loving thing a soul can do for another is play the villain in their story. The person who betrays you teaches discernment. The person who abandons you teaches self-reliance. The person who rejects you teaches self-acceptance. Would you choose these lessons in theory? Yes. In practice? Hell no. That's why you had to forget the agreement. Not all soul contracts are created equal. There are distinct categories, each serving different purposes. Type 1. Teaching contracts. Brief, potent, purposeful. Someone enters your life at the exact right moment with exactly the right wisdom. A mentor who believes in you when no one else does. A stranger who says something that changes your trajectory. A book that falls into your hands at the perfect time. These contracts are usually positive, often short-lived. The teaching is delivered, the contract is fulfilled, the soul exits. Type 2. Companion contracts. Your soul group. The people who feel like family even when they're not blood related. Your best friend who knows you better than your siblings. Your colleague who becomes like a sister. The mentor who feels like the parent you wish you'd had. These souls have been with you across multiple lifetimes, playing different roles in each. This time, they're your friend. Last time, they were your child. Before that, your teacher. The connection is immediate because it's ancient. Type 3. Healing contracts. Two souls who wounded each other in a previous life meet again to resolve it. This is why some relationships feel immediately intense. There's unfinished business bleeding through from another lifetime. These connections are often romantic. The intensity is magnetic. The drama is intense. Because you're not just dealing with this lifetime's wounds. You're healing echoes from previous incarnations. Type 4. Karmic contracts. The heavy ones. When a soul has caused significant harm in a previous life, it often chooses to experience the receiving end in the next incarnation. The abuser becomes the abused. The betrayer becomes the betrayed. The oppressor becomes the oppressed. This isn't divine punishment. It's experiential education. You can't truly understand the impact of your actions until you've stood on the other side of them. This is why forgiveness is so crucial. When you forgive, you're not just releasing someone in this life. You're potentially ending a karmic loop that's been cycling for centuries. Type 5. Catalyst contracts. These are the people who blow your life apart. the partner who cheats and forces you to rebuild your self-worth, the friend who betrays you and teaches you discernment, the boss who fires you and pushes you toward your actual calling. From the human perspective, these people are villains. From the soul's perspective, they're catalysts for awakening. And here's the mind-bending part. Before birth, you sat down with this soul and planned it. You agreed to the heartbreak because you recognized it as necessary medicine. Will you betray me so I can learn trust must be earned? Will you abandon me so I can learn I'm not abandoned by myself? Will you reject me so I can learn to stop outsourcing my self-worth? Your soul said yes to all of it. Let's destroy some myths. A soulmate is not your perfect romantic other half who completes you. That's Disney, not divinity. A soulmate is a soul from your group who's agreed to help you evolve through multiple lifetimes. Sometimes they're romantic partners. Sometimes they're best friends. Sometimes they're rivals who push you beyond your limits. The defining characteristic isn't romance, it's recognition and growth. When you meet a soulmate, something in you whispers, "Oh, it's you again." The connection is instant. The comfort is immediate. But so is the challenge. Real soulmate relationships are mirrors. They reflect everything you need to see about yourself, the beautiful and the ugly. They trigger your deepest wounds and your highest potential simultaneously. This is why soulmate relationships aren't easy. They're transformative, and transformation is rarely comfortable. Then there are twin flames. Not everyone has one, and if you do, you might not meet them in every incarnation, because twin flame encounters are advanced curriculum. The concept, one soul before incarnating, splits into two, creating masculine and feminine aspects in separate bodies. When twin flames meet in physical form, the recognition is nuclear. It's not, "I think I know you." It's, "I am you." But here's what the internet gets catastrophically wrong. Twin flame unions are not meant to be romantic fairy tales. They're meant to be spiritual crucibles. The purpose isn't to ride off into the sunset together. The purpose is alchemy. Each half triggers such intense growth in the other that every shadow, every wound, every limitation is forced to the surface. It's common for twin flames to meet, experience overwhelming intensity, and separate, often permanently, because the growth required is so demanding that one or both souls aren't ready. And that's okay. The contract isn't be together forever. It's catalyze each other's awakening. If you're obsessing over whether someone is your twin flame, they're probably not. True twin flame encounters don't create questions. They create earthquakes. So you've designed this elaborate life, chosen your body, selected your family, agreed to contracts with other souls, mapped out the major plot points. And then you do the one thing that makes the whole system work. You forget. Completely. This is called the veil of forgetting, and it's the most necessary and most challenging part of incarnation. Without it, nothing works. Imagine trying to learn courage if you remembered you're an eternal being who can't actually die. Imagine trying to develop love if you recalled you're already one with everything. Imagine trying to value compassion if you knew with certainty that everyone is you in disguise. The lessons would be meaningless. The the growth would be impossible. You'd be an actor who knows they're in a play, delivering lines without genuine emotion. The veil creates authentic experience. It makes every choice feel consequential, every emotion feel real, every relationship feel meaningful. Because from inside the illusion, it is real. But the veil isn't a blackout curtain. It's sheer fabric. Light bleeds through. That's why you have intuition, déjà vu, dreams that feel more real than waking life, moments when you just know something without knowing how you know it. Those aren't glitches, they're features, your soul leaving breadcrumbs for your human self. You're not alone in this, even when loneliness feels absolute. Your spiritual guides, souls who've completed their own incarnation cycles, are with you from birth to death and beyond. They communicate through intuition, synchronicities, signs, dreams, and those random encounters that feel anything but random. That gut feeling that screams, "Don't." Guide. That book that literally falls off the shelf. Guide. That stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear and then vanishes. Often a guide in temporary physical form. The number of people who report a mysterious, helpful stranger appearing during a crisis and then disappearing without a trace. Statistically impossible to dismiss. But here's the critical thing. Guides can only suggest. They cannot override your free will. They can illuminate options, create synchronicities, send signs. But you have to choose. You have to act. You have to walk the path. Most people pray for guidance, then ignore the answer because it doesn't arrive as a booming voice from heaven. Guidance whispers through your own intuition. It speaks through coincidence. It manifests as doors that open and doors that close. Learn this skill. Guides feel expansive, peaceful, loving. Ego feels contracting, fearful, controlling. That's the difference. Throughout your life, there are pre-programmed moments designed to wake you up, to redirect you, to activate dormant aspects of your soul's purpose. These are called activation points, and they almost always arrive disguised as crisis. The death of someone you love, the collapse of your career, the end of your perfect relationship, the diagnosis that changes everything, the accident you should have died in but didn't. From the human perspective, tragedy. From the soul's perspective, alarm clock. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most humans sleepwalk through existence. They follow scripts written by family, culture, and social conditioning. They pursue goals that aren't theirs. They build lives that look impressive but feel hollow. Activation points shatter autopilot. They force you to question everything. They create enough disruption that you can't ignore your soul's whisper anymore. This is why people often describe before and after moments. Before the divorce, after. Before the diagnosis, after. Before the awakening, after. You didn't just survive those moments, you were reborn through them. If you're in one right now, understand, you're not broken. You're not being punished. You're being activated. Something in you is waking up that was always meant to wake up. The breakdown is the breakthrough. What's my purpose? This might be the most misunderstood question in spirituality. Your soul didn't incarnate to do one specific thing. It incarnated to be something. to embody certain qualities, to master specific lessons. Purpose isn't a job title. It's not a single mission. It's a way of being that expresses through everything you do. A soul learning compassion might be a nurse, a teacher, a parent, or simply the friend everyone calls at 3 a.m. The form is secondary. The essence is primary. A soul learning courage might be a firefighter, an entrepreneur, a whistleblower, or someone who finally sets boundaries with their toxic family. Again, the how is flexible. The what is the point. This is why people achieve their dream and feel empty. They confuse the form, the goal, with the essence, the quality their soul is developing. Your purpose is happening right now, in how you handle your current challenge, in how you treat people when no one's watching, in whether you're growing in consciousness or contracting in fear. Stop asking, "What's my purpose?" Start asking, "What is this moment teaching me?" Answer that, and purpose reveals itself. Your body will stop functioning. This is not an ending, it's a homecoming. Thousands of near-death experiences report the same sequence, moving through darkness toward light, feeling overwhelming peace, suddenly remembering everything you forgot. The veil lifts completely, and in that moment, you realize death isn't dying, it's waking up. You see your guides. You reunite with souls you've loved across lifetimes. You feel source consciousness itself welcoming you back. And there's no judgment, no angry deity, no hellfire. Just infinite compassion asking one question: what did you learn? This is where integration happens. You re-experience your entire life, every moment, every interaction, every choice, but not from your limited perspective. From everyone's perspective. The kindness you showed a stranger, you feel their relief, their gratitude, the ripple through the rest of their day, the domino effect that changed their entire trajectory. The harsh words you spoke in anger. You feel the recipient's pain, their confusion, their struggle to understand, the wound they carried for years. This isn't punishment, it's completion. It's the full circle of understanding that transforms experience into wisdom. You see moments you honored your contracts and moments you avoided them. Opportunities taken and opportunities missed. Times you listened to intuition and times you ignored it. And through it all, you're held in absolute compassion. Because the council, your guides, your soul group, they understand that evolution requires mistakes, growth requires detours, mastery requires failure. No shame. Just integration. After the review, after the rest, after the period in pure consciousness, you face a choice. Return to Earth School or move on. Some souls choose higher dimensions, becoming guides for those still in physical form. Some merge completely with Source, dissolving individual identity into cosmic consciousness. But many souls look at Earth with all its pain and limitation and choose to come back. Why? Because there's something intoxicating about physical existence. The taste of food, the feeling of being held, the beauty of a sunset, the triumph of overcoming, the depth of love that's chosen, not guaranteed. And because Earth right now is in a unique moment, planetary awakening, a shift in collective consciousness, and souls are lining up for the opportunity to incarnate during this transition. If you're here now, you chose to be here for this. How do I get off the wheel? You don't escape it, you transcend it. Liberation isn't about never incarnating again. It's about incarnating from choice, not necessity, from mastery, not obligation. The path is ancient and simple. Wake up, see your patterns, your conditioning, your unconscious loops. Clear karma, forgive, seek forgiveness, release resentment, detach love without neediness, create without attachment, experience without clinging, realize unity. Know experientially that you are not separate from anything. When you embody these, the wheel doesn't disappear. You stop being trapped by it. And from that freedom, you might choose to ride it again. Not as a student, but as a teacher. Not seeking, but showing others the way home. You are not here by accident. This moment, right now, reading these words, was scheduled before you were born. Your soul knew there would come a time when surface-level explanations would stop satisfying you, when you'd begin questioning, when you'd start remembering, and it planted checkpoints, breadcrumbs, reminders. This is one of them. Every spiritual truth that resonates isn't new information, it's recognition. You're not discovering, you're remembering. You chose this life, the beauty and the brutality, the love and the loss, the victories and the failures. You chose it because this combination of experiences would forge you into who you're becoming. So the question is, what will you do with this knowing? Continue sleepwalking, blaming circumstances, playing victim, or wake up, take radical responsibility, step into your power as a conscious creator? Your soul already knows. It's been waiting for you to remember. The alarm is ringing. Welcome to the hidden voyage. Welcome home. Soul Whisper and Soul Creator. The hidden voyage. One last thing. If this shook something loose in you, share it. Not for me, for the person whose soul is waiting for this message. We're not building an audience. We're assembling a consciousness collective, and you're part of it. Next video goes even deeper, into the mechanics of karma, the technology of manifestation, the science of soul evolution. See you there.